Terence Crawford and Israel Madrimov. This fight has just concluded a couple hours ago at this time. And ladies and gentlemen, you gotta hit the spritz. It was a robbery. It was a highway robbery. And that's what I was going back and forth with some folks about on Twitter. As you can have your opinions. You can definitely have your opinion, man. But listen, there's an old unwritten rule in boxing that goes a little something like, if you aren't the champion, you're the challenger, you have to do more than the champion to win. Respectfully, that's just an old rule. I truly believe it's an unwritten rule. If it's written down somewhere, I've never read it. But Terence Crawford, everybody has been double speaking about this fight, right? Because people are saying that the overall consensus right now is that Terence Crawford is not ready for Canelo Alvarez. Respectfully, I agree with that. But it's also people out here that's saying that Terence Crawford had a good fight, right, versus a guy that is far inferior than Canelo Alvarez, or I wouldn't say Terence. I mean Errol Spence. Maybe Madrimov might be better than Errol Spence as well. What's good, people? Thank you for pulling up. But at the same time, people are kind of double speaking about this situation. I don't think Terence Crawford looked good. In fact, I think this was the first fight that we can put the flag down and say that Terence Crawford is no longer in his prime, ladies and gentlemen. Now I want to account for it, like I said in my prediction, that Terence Crawford is moving up. He's adding 7 pounds of muscle, which is not easy. You know, I used to do boxing. It's not easy, one, to burn off weight, but it's definitely not easy to turn that weight into muscle. So adding 7 pounds of muscle is not adding 7 pounds of regular weight, if you will. So Terence Crawford moved up to 154. I don't think that his speed, Trent it went up with him. Skill set was there round 11 and round 12. We seen a glimpse of what Crawford is, and I respectfully say that, man, we would have got round 11 and round 12. Terence Crawford, that fight would have been over a lot sooner. But it went the distance. Terence Crawford gets the decision. But for me personally, and if y'all been rocking with me for a amount of time, I'm not very adept at scoring boxing matches. I got an idea how it goes, but anytime I score a boxing match, I dead ass I gotta confess this. Anytime I sit down and try to score a boxing match, and then I compare my notes with somebody that I deem is smarter than me and knows a little bit more about the boxing than me, when I compare my cards to their cards, it very rarely looks the same. You know what I mean? I don't know if I'm watching the boxing match wrong. I don't know if I'm counting points wrong. I don't know. I've never been good at scoring boxing matches. I can just go off the eye test. I can go off what I'm seeing. I used to be a boxer, trained a few boxers, still in the boxing network. And typically when I'm saying stuff about boxing, it's an unpopular opinion at first, but then it grows legs, and then all of a sudden everybody else is saying it, because I've been saying that Terence Crawford shouldn't fight Canelo. I don't want to see him go up there and do what Jermell Charlo did, respectfully. I'm not saying that man can't do it, but you just went the distance with a very much so inferior fighter. I wouldn't say that Israel Madrimov has more power than Canelo Alvarez. I wouldn't say that Madrimov has more footwork than Canelo Alvarez. I wouldn't say that Madrimov has better skills than Canelo Alvarez. And Terence Crawford had a 50-50 fight with this dude. You know what I mean? And for my opinion, I feel like it was robbery. One, because if we're looking at this boxing match just from like a regular, if it was a Terence Crawford, no champion, no straps, and Israel Madrimov, no champions, no straps, I'm not mad at Terence Crawford winning the match. This might sound a little, double speak myself. I just had to cook up this take when I was going back and forth with some clowns on boxing Twitter. If excuse me, damn, I just kind of lost my thought. Talking crazy. But anyway, Israel Madrimov is a very much so inferior fighter to Canelo Alvarez. And this fight just really displayed to me that, you know, Terence Crawford can really go up there and do what he want to do. I mean, he a grown man. He controls his boxing career. But I don't think that this fight is a good um, confidence giver, if you will, to think that Terence Crawford can be Canelo. And like I said, I've been saying for a long time now that Canelo, not excuse me, that Terence Crawford should not even challenge Canelo. Get off of that. Find you another way to seal your legacy. Which at this point, after this fight, I say that Terence Crawford should solely focus on going undisputed at 154 and making that, his legacy. At this point, um, Terence Crawford at 36 years old, he's not what he used to be. His body is changing naturally, so it's going to be difficult for me to believe that Terence Crawford all of a sudden is going to look like a totally different fighter than he did tonight. Not that he looked like crap tonight, but up until the 11th round, I was questioning Terence Crawford's strategy. One, he stayed in southpaw. Well, he started off, traditional, orthodox, and then he switched to southpaw. And for me personally, I thought that was a mistake because it seemed like Israel Madrimov was a little timid that first round, that first little bit that Terence Crawford went orthodox. But the moment Terence Crawford went southpaw, it's like Israel Madrimov's aggression went up, tenfold. Really, it was crazy. He started hitting Terence Crawford on that right eye. And I was tweeting as I'm watching this stuff, like, okay, the first round was about, a fill out round. Second round, got a little spicier, but I gave it to Crawford. But that third round, it's like Israel Madrimov found Terence Crawford's right eye and just kept hitting it. Terence Crawford had a lump on his eye by the seventh round. And to me personally, he just didn't look good, man. It seemed like Madrimov was just doing whatever he wanted to do. Whenever he wanted to land that straight right, he did, on that right eye. And then some left hooks too. It was just crazy. I don't understand why Bomac didn't tell Terence Crawford. If Terence Crawford didn't come up with it himself, I don't understand why they didn't go back traditional. But nonetheless, rounds 3 to 10, I got Madrimov easy. You know what I mean? Not even a thought. It's Madrimov, and that's it. And then when we're talking about round 2, you could really get that to him as well. I didn't really necessarily. Round 1 was just so they were just really looking at each other the entire time. So I gave it to Crawford, but round 1 you could toss it up at that point. You could give it to Madrimov just as easily as you can give it to Terence Crawford because it's a fill out round. It's just them testing it out. I will say this: Israel Madrimov, bro. I think he might be the best fighter at 154. Honestly, I don't see any other fighter in the 154 division, including Charlo. If he, he said he was coming back, all that kind of stuff. But for what? You know what I mean? You got your bag from Canelo. I can't stand the Charlos, man, me personally. But at the same time, I don't think Jamel Charlo could be Madrimov. I don't think Castano could be Madrimov. Trying to think who else is at 54. I don't think anybody. I don't think Terence Crawford beat him, for reasons. But at the same time, Madrimov really impressed me with this fight. He looked much more improved than his previous fights because I've watched some of his previous fights before, and I would say that I've said this in my prediction. I'm kind of repeating myself, but I would say when I was watching his fights initially. He displayed an amazing amount of athleticism, but not a lot of ring IQ. This fight, he displayed his athleticism, his ring IQ, his footwork, and he's a much better fighter than I anticipated him to be. So I'll be rocking with Israel Madrimov from now on. You know what I mean? That's what I love about boxing. Sometimes somebody will box one of my favorite boxers, and then all of a sudden, you know what I mean? I'm rocking with you now. I'm gonna be following and rocking with Israel Madrimov from now on because he really showed me something tonight with his skills. Outside of that, man, again, that 7 pounds of muscle, I think that really worked against Terence Crawford. Unfortunately, I didn't see speed. I mean, I seen speed in spurts, but we know Terence Crawford, man. I've said this once, I'll say it again. I said it many times. And shout out to the big homie, Marlo knows boxing and basketball because he's really the one that kind of put me up on this concept. But Terence Crawford on the offense is lethal. You know what I mean? Almost Manny Pacquiao-ish. And if you didn't ever see anything else that displayed that, go watch the the Errol Spence fight again. Like Terence Crawford's hand speed was godly. So at the same time, I just truly believe that Terence Crawford right now, man, he ain't ready for no Canelo. I don't see how people are saying this fight, he did enough to win this fight. Oh, excuse me, I'm not saying that. I don't see how people are saying that he's not ready for Canelo when he just displayed he's not really ready for 154. You know what I mean? Coming from 135, I think that 147 welterweight should have been his cap out, and he did go undisputed, defeating Errol Spence, but get going knock boots off. You know what I mean? Go knock Virgil Ortiz. I don't know if Ortiz has moved up to 54, but clean up the welterweight division, then retire. I mean, at this point, Terence Crawford got nothing else to prove. I made a video about this. I'm like, yo, he at that point in his career, and he waited a long time to get to this point in his career, but he at that point in his career where he only taking money fights, big money fights. I think Terence Crawford was good enough to take these big money fights at 30, 31. You know what I mean? Now you're trying to take him at 36. Like, brother, 37 this year. Terence Crawford will be 37 in a few months. So it's just very alarming that, he's not in his prime no more. He didn't look good tonight. And what are we going to get from Terence Crawford moving forward? Because Canelo's only 34. You know what I mean? So he can age Crawford out, or he could catch Crawford. I think Canelo gonna be uber confident after this fight, but I think he could catch Crawford, right now at the right weight. Especially if he's foolish enough. Chance Crawford is foolish enough to move up 2 weight divisions. I'm talking about 7 pounds of muscle made you look slower. 14 pounds of muscles in addition to that 7 pounds. Nah, man, it's gonna be Jamel Charlo all over again. Terence Crawford just running around for his life, surviving, and then end up being sacrificed to Canelo, if you will, for the worst of the better word. That's what it looked like for me with the Charlos thing. But again, I can't stand the Charlo, so I didn't mind seeing him get beat up. It would hurt me a little bit to see Bud try to go up there at 37, 38, whatever, 21 pounds heavier. I know his thing is that he got the skills to pay the bills, but man, it's more than just skills when it comes to boxing. You know what I mean? You got to have a lot more. And Israel Madrimov showed that tonight. He didn't have necessarily the skill, but Israel Madrimov was 26 years old, 10 years younger than Terence Bud Crawford, and that's what he used against Terence Bud Crawford. He just used his speed, his youth, his ability. Like I say, his footwork was levels above what I thought it was. A few times, when he was going for certain punches, he wouldn't have his feet set. He heard him get into a nice stance where he could catch Crawford with one of those left hooks. But now that Terence Crawford has won, everybody's speculating what's coming next. A lot of people, the boxing community, is saying he ain't ready for Canelo. I'm in that camp. It's just going. At this point, I just think that if Terence Crawford gets his body used to 154, if he, making 147 is too tough nowadays. If you get your body used to 154, you can go to undisputed, and you may have to go, give Israel Madrimov a rematch. I doubt that's going to happen, but I think Israel Madrimov is entitled as a former champion, as the, most recent holder of that WBA belt. I think he's entitled to a rematch. So we'll see what happens on that one. Again, I think this was highway robbery, and I'm a Terence Crawford guy. I rock with Terence Crawford. He's one of my guys, but he's one of my boxers, but he didn't look good tonight. You know what I mean? It kind of reminded me of David Benavidez a couple of weeks ago when he went up to 175, and he looked like a shell of himself. I mean, y'all tell me what y'all think. You know what I mean? That's just what I'm going with on that. I think David Benavidez at 175 looked like Terence Crawford at 154. Phenomenal boxers, but that 7 pounds of muscles will slow you down. You're not going to look the same. I can't imagine Terence Crawford putting on more, muscle weight and then trying to go chase a Canelo or even somebody at 160. You know what I mean? But highway robbery for me. We'll see what happens next. I don't necessarily know what's going to happen as far as, Terence Crawford going to fight Boots at 147. I doubt it. Who's his next opponent? If it's not Canelo Alvarez, then who? And I'm not saying he deserves a Canelo Alvarez by far, but We shall see. We shall see how this situation unfolds. But I guess we're gonna say shout out to Terence Crawford for getting the decision. Again, it looked rigged and not rigged, but it looked like boxing politics was all in the mix with this. As boxing has become a popularity contest, man, that's what really irks me off. But